Book Club for It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Hello.
Hi. Don't look at me. I'm in my robe.
Ooh. You can't even tell. It looks like you're wearing a shirt.
I told my husband, I go,
Look.
Hi. Hi. This doesn't work.
3, 4, 5. Just show your robe. Who cares? Look at Lydia.
No.
look, robe.
I told her it looked like a shirt. I wouldn't have known.
I have my pajamas under. Look.
Me too.
Hi, Ali.
I don't,
Hi.
It doesn't matter. No judgment. No judgment. Yeah.
Sorry. Don't judge my hair if we're talking about no judgment. I just finished a
Let's
workout.
Let's not, like, I keep thinking, how big do I come out with these things?
iPhone is Jenna.
Yes, I got on. Thank you guys, everyone, for sending me the link. I'm
like, who is iPhone?
The email never came through after the RSVP, so I couldn't find the link. And
I know, it didn't come through to
me
me either.
Okay, that's
It was
better.
like stuck. It kept telling me couldn't find link or something.
Oh, weird. I resent the link a little while ago, but it's fine.
Please, I went on 7. That's how I was. I was like, oh, it's at 7. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, it's at 7:30.
I'm gonna apologize in advance if I start coughing, but I had COVID like a month ago and it's still lingering. So just ignore my coughing.
Don't worry about that.
You feeling better?
I feel better, but the cough is still there and I get like wheezing after a while.
Right.
Or like in the middle of the night, I wake up like gasping for air and wheezing. They sent me new medication, so that's kind of kicking in now, but I've only been on it for 3 days, so I hope it remains.
Prop yourself up
Huh?
when you sleep. Prop yourself up with like pillows.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I have like 2 now on here.
Yeah, because that helps. Helps open it up a little bit. That's what they always told me to do with my son. So I'm extending the advice.
Share the info.
Share the wealth. But yeah, he has to sleep almost sitting up just to be able to like breathe, because when you lay flat, it's worse.
Hi Lourdes, welcome.
Hi there.
I'm gonna wait like 2 more minutes and then we can like all introduce ourselves. Everybody's just chit-chatting now. We lost Jenna.
See, I like your library.
I like the beach.
I come to every meeting on the beach.
You guys get stuck with my real view because I don't, for some reason, I can't do it on my computer. On my, like, I have a Chromebook and I can't put a background on Zoom.
Tina, the last author, Kate, asked you if that was real, right?
Yeah, she did. I get a comment all the time on it.
I'm like, how would that be real? She's like sitting in the middle of the
In
sand.
the middle of the night.
You could be somewhere else.
I could be.
Halfway across the world.
I absolutely could be. But nope, I'm here. Miami.
Okay. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves since we have some new faces? Lydia, you want to go first?
Yes, I'm Lydia. Maybe some of you have seen me, maybe not. I don't know. I'm friends with Michelle and I love to be here, but I usually miss it because I never realize that it's that date and I remember when I wake up the next morning. So,
Or when we post pictures on Instagram, she'll message me like, crap, I missed it.
well, I've been to some. I've
Yes.
been good, but sometimes it just catches me by surprise. So, great to meet you all.
You're a mom, you're excused. And
Yeah.
a teen boy, so.
Yeah, 3 boys, but a teen one.
A teen one.
The teen one is the one that I have to worry about. The other ones don't, they're okay.
Tina.
Hi. Tina Formosa. I went to high school with Michelle, and I love coming. I think I've only missed one, but I still always wait until like 5 days before, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't read the book, even though I want to read it ahead. And then they're always good. So I like
Yay.
race through them.
Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy Verger, and I've been friends with Michelle since our college days, and I love to read, so this is one of my favorite things to do.
I promise not everybody's connected through me. Others are welcome too. Just so far, yes. A lot of people are connected through Allie though. So Allie, you're next.
Hi, I'm Allie, former coworker of Michelle, now just friend. And I actually didn't think I'd make it because I was waiting on this book from the library. The funny thing is I requested this book months ago because I just wanted to read it. I had heard good things, and I rented it and didn't read it in time. And I got sent all the way to the bottom of the list. So I was like hundreds of people below. And then when Michelle announced it, I was like, I was going to get it in like 9 weeks. And I just got it Sunday morning, and I spent all day Sunday reading the book.
She literally texted me on Saturday, like, I don't have the book yet. I can't join. And then Sunday, I did a marathon reading day. I'm going. I hope your marathon reading day was worth it.
I read it like 2 years ago. And I still remember. It's one of those that I remember, you know, that I just don't like, whatever. When you posted the book, I was just like, oh my gosh, I read this already.
It was so good.
I was like, yay.
I was mad. I was sad. Okay, Jackie.
Hi. So I came to one of the book clubs that we did for Chanel Clayton's book. And then since then I haven't been able to join. I tried really hard to come to the last one. Lily, who's not on because she didn't finish reading the book.
She had RSVP'd.
I know, but I just texted her a little while. I'm like, are you joining? She's like, I haven't finished. Which is funny because for the last one, she was like, the day before, she's like, are you coming to book club tomorrow? I'm like, what do you mean there's book club tomorrow? She's like, yeah. Get the book, get on your iPad to read it. I'm like, I'm going to read it tonight and I'm going to be at book club. I failed. I fell asleep. But I did read it and I finished reading it on Saturday, got this book on Saturday and finished reading it an hour ago.
What? Wait, which one did you finish before? The Fiance?
Yes. It took me forever to read it because I was so busy with work. So I finished The Fiance Saturday, bought this one on the iPad, read it, and I hate reading on my iPad. I need a book.
You and Ellie be friends.
I have to read. I really liked it. And I read another book by Colleen Hoover in the summer, and I really liked that one. So I was like, I have to read this one and I want to be at book club. So yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Which is the other one you read?
Oh,
I read
Colleen Hoover.
Verity.
Yeah.
It was really good. Super dark, but really good.
Okay, Lourdes.
Hi there, Lourdes Garvey. I have no idea how I landed on the Instagram page.
It's okay.
But I think it was originally through Lourdes. Because Michelle, you were at the last cancer prayer service, and I was there, and I think they posted a picture tag, and then you start clicking on everybody that's tagged and you go through the spiral.
Yes.
So I ended up on here and the book popped up. I do scribed, and it was available and I read it in one night.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
So it was,
and I'm glad you're a Lourdes connection. I'm now the president of the alumni.
Yes, love it.
Tina is a Lourdes grad too. So welcome.
Thank you.
Sierra, you there? Yeah, she's there.
Hi, I'm here. I'm like still cooking dinner, and my dog is going to stand mute. I came to the book club through Abby. I came to a bunch at the beginning, and then I'm a tax accountant, and I can't read during tax season because I just like stay up till 4 a.m. reading, and then I can't like focus. But it's off season. I'm back, so I finished this book. I got it from the library. I guess I was ahead of Allie, but I mean, I don't know why it takes so long because like, how do you put this book down? But
yeah,
I enjoy talking about it. I'm happy to be back.
Thanks. Now you're free, right? You're off tax season.
Yeah, till January, but.
And Jenna. She there?
Hi, sorry. I'm Jenna. I am on here from Valley also. She's my roommate and she worked with Michelle. So that's how I got involved. And it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm glad to have you. Yeah, and this will hopefully someday expand to people that are not all connected through me.
Yeah, we actually have another friend that read this book. And I don't know why she's not on here. We sent it to her also. So we may not have finished it
No,
yet.
it's hard. It'll expand.
I'm
I
so
love it.
sorry
It gives
for my coffee.
I love it. It gives me a reason to read because I always find an excuse. You're too busy. I'm too this, too that, kids, activities. So
You're like me that I buy books and I start them and I leave them there and I'm like, there's something good on.
I have piles of those.
And then I wait and then it's like a month later and I haven't picked it up.
But this is like a reason, like I had to finish because
I'm reading 4 at one time.
I can't do that.
No, I can't. I can't do it. But the thing is that I started reading, I bought 2 like physical books. So I'm reading those. And then at night, I'm in the dark. So I'm like reading on my iPad. And then I decided to read all those Bridgerton books.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, Smut City, they're crap, but whatever, they go by so fast that you're like reading them. So I'm like, what am I doing?
How do you keep track?
Because they're different. They're different. Like I try to read one thing that isn't like fiction, just like a nonfiction book. So that's, very slow. I read like whatever, a chapter, but then I read like a physical book, which I was really looking forward to. And that one, like I bought the book because I have all the other it's like an anthology. So I have like the whole series. So I was waiting for that one. And then the other ones I just download from the library on that Libby app. And I'm like, yeah, this looks good. And let me do this, So it's like, I don't go bankrupt buying them all. Right. But I'm like doing 4 right now. I'm like, no, I can't. I can't do that. When I read in car line, when I'm waiting for my kids to get out of school, I just put it in the car and I'm sitting there. So I might as well do something. It's either that or my phone. So I force myself to read something so I don't spend the entire hour and a half that I'm in a car line on Instagram. So,
I was in the middle of reading actually a different Colleen Hoover book. And then I got this one from the library. So I put that on pause with like 100 pages left.
Oh boy.
And then, so now
as good as this one?
I actually think I may have liked it a little bit better than this one.
Which one is it?
Really?
It's called Regretting You.
That sounds like a good title.
I'm going to note that one. Better than this one?
It was.
Must be good.
It is good.
I thought this one was a little, I don't want to say sadder, because that one probably was actually a sadder story by a lot, but it was, I don't know. Jenna read it also, and maybe she can, I don't know if she feels the same way. It was very different, but.
Very different. All 3 books by her have been so different. It's incredible.
I can't explain why. I just finished it and I just said, I liked them both, but I think I liked this other one better. So I probably have the lesser opinion than most people because I know so many people love this book, and I also liked this one, but I really liked that one.
Okay, we don't.
Verity is just a totally different genre all on its own.
Verity?
Yeah, because that's like a thriller.
We don't have an author today, as you can see. I did invite her. I think I stalked her. I must have sent her more than like 20 emails and messages on Instagram. And if you follow her, you see that she posts pictures of people's books all the time. And she not once reshared any of ours. So I might have stalked her a little too much. But so it's just us today. Lourdes, since you're new here, in the past, we've had authors join us and they get to talk to us about the book. Okay, so some of you have already answered this, but the first question is, what did you think about the book? Anybody else other than Allie and?
I really liked it, but I was hoping that she would give us more.
Like in what sense?
I really, really liked it. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, like I want more. Atlas. I wanted more of that. Like, I was happy that she grew, because at one point I was like, oh, she's just gonna like relive the same circle and like go in the same cycle that her mom did. But then it kind of just, and then I saw him, and then she asked him the 3 questions, and then that was it. I'm like, I need more.
I want like a sequel. I want to know where their story went.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Could there be? But it's been a while because the book's been out since like 2016 or something like that. So I'm like, if she's gonna write one, wouldn't she have done it already?
I want to know if Riley loses his mind when he finds out she went to him.
Oh yeah. Does he kill him?
Like, does he take it out on the kid? Like, I really want to know what he does.
I think
that's why I liked it, because usually we get that part, you know, we get the terrible part of the relationship, and then how the person moves on and she's happy, and then you hear about the happiness of the story. So I think that's why it was different for me. I liked it because it ended, and obviously, you know, it ended happily, but just that it focused more on the process of her getting to that decision. If it ended there, if she asked for the divorce and then they said nothing else, and I think I would have been more like, wait, but then what?
Yeah.
But I think that's why I enjoyed it, because it was different than anything I had read before.
I thought it was cool, but I liked the book very much. I could have put it down, but the relationship with, is it Riley? Is that how you say his name? Riley?
I kept changing it in my head. I was like,
I know, I called him Ryle like all the time.
For a little while.
Whatever. They painted too nice a picture of, like, he was so passionate, so good with her, like when they were good, that I'm like, man, like it just seemed, it didn't work for me. Like I felt like it couldn't possibly be like that. But then if you read the end, like that, whatever, I guess the epilogue or whatever it is, that she says she bases it on her dad and her mom's relationship. I was like, oh, I guess that's how it could be. So then it felt better for me when I read that.
With him, like, I like that you see his sister and her husband, like they're friends with him. Like the sister knows, like at his core, he's really like a good guy and he wants to be a good guy. He just is like damaged and has this like part of him. Like I appreciated that they painted like this picture of like, I feel like when you think of, sorry, my dog is like going nuts. When you think of like domestic abuse, like I just picture like an evil human all the time. And like they painted a picture of him like he's a doctor, he's caring. He just has this like broken syntax in his brain somewhere that like causes him to be this way. So I like that.
He's a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then again, like I was talking to my boyfriend about this after I finished it, and we have to keep in mind, like I think of the same thing. Like I think as an abuser is like an evil person too, but those evil person usually have a charming side that lures the women in, because if he was evil from the beginning, she wouldn't give him a time of day. So they have to, like, I don't know if he's like faking it or if that was really his personality. He just had an evil side to him.
I felt like it was real. I felt genuine, like it was genuine.
Yeah.
I thought he was too good to be true first. You know, like, but then these authors tend to set it up that way, you know, like, and but then it's like, yeah, you know, I tend to agree. Yeah, he's like flawed, you know, they made him like human, only, you know, nobody we want to deal with, but
yeah,
but it makes you think how many people are out there like that. You know, they present one way and then you get involved and then it turns into something completely different. And it's like what you said, Michelle, that, I mean, that's usually, they have that very charming side. They lure you in.
I was so terrified for her. Like the smallest thing would set him off.
Yeah. Which is red flag right there, but whatever. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's also maybe it was what she wanted to see, and because that's another thing. When they always say that when you're in some kind of abusive relationship, you see what you want to see and what's not obvious. But I think she didn't make it very obvious to the reader, you know, until later on, you know, when you started seeing that. Because when you first saw it, unless you're like a cynic and you're skeptical about, okay, this guy's too perfect or whatever, there's like something going on. I think, And I think she set it up that way.
Even
I didn't like his character at all.
The first time when she got hurt, that he pulled out like the pot roast or the casserole or whatever, and she was laughing and he got cut and he pushed and she fell. That was like the first sign. But as a reader, I was like, maybe it was a mistake. Like he didn't mean to hit her. She got hurt because she got on the way and she instigated because she was laughing at him. But that was just like the start of the pattern.
But even the way she wrote it.
Huh?
Sorry, I think I was talking over somebody.
What'd you say?
That even the way that she wrote it, I didn't read it like as he slapped her until after the fact when she processed it herself.
Yeah.
The way I read it was like he was here and he was like, hey, and he like hit her like accidentally because she was over him.
That's why I read it like it was by mistake, like he meant to like move her out of the way.
Yeah, she wrote it so well that like you were saying, like we felt whatever she was feeling. Like there wasn't a moment where we could be like, oh no, because you looked at this part, you know.
Yeah.
Lydia, that's the part that you mentioned, that she didn't mention the red flags because she herself didn't see them. So we as the reader then didn't see those.
You're experiencing the story just as she is evolving in the story.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to the author, you know, that makes you do that. But I mean, it I guess also it depends on what kind of reader you are, you know, and how cynical you are when you read these characters. You're like, wait a minute, you know, like me, I'm like super cynical about every character. Like I'm always looking for the bad in every character until they prove me wrong.
Are you like that in real life too?
No, you know. But when I read, I'm like, because I think that makes the characters more complex, and I think the authors write them that way in order to entice the reader and to bring you in and to keep you interested, because if not, they would be very flat and you'd be like, whatever, this is just so predictable. So I think it's a testament to her talent as a writer that, you know, yeah, you don't see it, but then you're like, yeah, that's right. Like when she sees it, you're like, wait a minute, yeah, you know. But
yeah,
I mean,
that's one of my favorite things, how she pulls you in to the point that you feel that you're her and you're going through that. Mm-hmm. And then you start, you know, thinking about after you think it, but no, that's not how I would feel, or that's not how, but you're not her. And she just keeps pulling you where you jump in and you feel her emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said you feel her emotions, some of those scenes where he's, especially the last one when he was like biting her and on top of her, I was like cringing, like make this scene end already.
When it makes you physically uncomfortable when you're reading, you know, when you're reading that, like a book like that and you're like cringing, you're like, oh my God, you're like, when you see a movie and you close your eyes kind of thing. I mean, that's like a sign. This is a good book because you're actually in it, you know, you're in the story. And then you don't want it to end. Like you said, you're like, oh, that's it. I wish it would have been more. I wish you want to continue.
She got me with the casserole because I laugh at everything. Like, and all I kept thinking was, I would be dead. With the way I laugh at it, I would have been cracking up probably harder than she was.
Well, and really get to know, I feel like you're in her thoughts with, you know, the first two times it seems like, oh, I mean, not really the second time, but at least definitely the first time you're like, oh, you can, you know, push it away like it was an accident. He didn't really mean it. But then by that third time, that's like,
yeah,
now you've reached inexcusable. This is not like there's no excuse for this. There's no coming back from this. There's, you know.
The second one was when she fell down the stairs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also saw that as that could be a mistake. I was like, is he really
like those
or is he just like
kind of
careless?
Away. Right. Those two could kind of, but by the third one, it's like, no.
No, by the third I pictured him like a vulture, like waiting to attack her.
She purposefully like has it progress up because the first two you could be like, all right, it was an accident, and you can like understand why with the casserole, like his hand is hot and everything, like he's burning himself, they were drunk, whatever. That last one, the last attack, he's attacking her and he's like he's like, it's like vindictive. He's like responding to like what she did. He's punishing her, really.
Mhm.
Like the first one, I honestly thought like he hurt his hand, and like, you know, he talks about like being a neurosurgeon and using his hand. So I thought like he burnt it. First, I thought like he just reacted because he got burnt and like his arm swung backwards. But then like it was, and then I was like, oh, maybe he's pissed because he hurt his hand, like being a neurosurgeon and like that. But it wasn't even like anything to do with that.
Yeah. Did it make anybody think like if I was dating and those first two situations would have happened, I would have brushed them off probably.
Yeah,
for sure.
They weren't so obviously abusive.
No, at all. And even when she fell to the floor, that she was processing everything and we were reading her thoughts, and then she said like never again, or I'm like, she's such an exaggerator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's because of her history, you know, like, you know, I kind of felt like, I mean, give him a break. His hand, you know, I was like, oh my God, his hands, he's not going to perform. Like, you know, I thought the relationship would end right then and there because I read into this injury, like that it was so bad, not that he was going to be able to still perform that super long surgery the next day or that Monday. So I did. And that was actually very terrifying to think like, if I was in that situation for those two times, I probably would have let it go.
I know. I finished the book and I literally sat in bed just like staring into space. Like, I feel like we need to think about, I mean, some of you are married, but the ones dating, like these red flags are not just like little red flags sometimes.
And
I thought you did. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that he's so passionate, like for everything in the happy part, you know, so intensely passionate from the very beginning that you just brush it off as that. Like he was passionate, like about his job and the hand and everything. Like it makes sense. It doesn't sound like an abuse or anything like that at the beginning.
Okay, Jenna.
I was gonna say the author did such a good job of painting him in such like this main character, like such a strong character that you were like rooting for him. So it's like every time it was like such a conflict of like, but he's so good, and like you want them to win, you want them to be together, that it makes it so hard that every time it's just something bad, you just like, yeah, like you maybe the first time, second time you're like, oh, I brushed it off, and then you stop and think about it, and like what she said about stopping the cycle, like, and what the mom explained about like letting where your line would be keeps inching further and further, because you're like, oh, now it was just a slap, so he didn't beat the shit out of me, so it's okay. Like little by little you start making your line further and further than what you thought it was, and the author does such a good job of painting him in such like a perfect light in all the rest of his life that you're like, but he's so good, like who cares if he gets mad sometimes or whatever, you know? When it's like, it's true, we shouldn't like accept that, period, versus like us drawing our line further and further.
And I feel like as women, we kind of do that sometimes, like whether it's physical abuse or like not standing up what you think you deserve, or emotional abuse in a relationship. You're like, oh, they were just upset, or it wasn't so bad, but then it can escalate.
You justify it, you know?
Yeah.
On what it's funny because when you're in a relationship or you're someone and you're iffy, you're not convinced, it takes just one little thing to say, okay, you know what, forget it. I'm done. But when you're invested in it and when you're in it, which she was, you know, you sort of push the boundaries a little bit.
And then it takes that one big thing.
Yeah, you know, but the slap, oh yeah. Again, he's really frustrated. That's his livelihood. That's his life. And, you know, stupid me, you know, I shouldn't have done that. And, you know, but then progressively it gets worse and worse and worse. And then I think that you follow her journey in realizing it. You know what I mean? Like she's not oblivious to it at first, but she sort of shrugs it off as whatever. It's okay. You know, and it can't be that. It's nothing. I don't think she even realizes it herself.
Yeah.
Until a big aha moment. Okay, wait a minute. You know.
One of the first times that I was like, maybe she's not exaggerating, and this is probably going to sound really ridiculous, was one of their sex scenes that was really graphic. I think it was when they were in her office, like on the couch, and like somebody called and interrupted. That scene, part of it, I was like, oh, this is different for her. And then like as he kept getting more like dominant, I was like, is she enjoying this? Like it sounds a little bit too aggressive at a point. And then is when he like beat her up shortly after. So did anybody think
The
like that?
other thing is, oh, sorry.
No, I was saying, did anybody else think of anything like that? Like any other signs?
Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but kind of like, but she also like you see his growth as a character and as a person from the moment she meets him, where he's like, I don't want anything. I just, want a one night stand. But honestly, any man who has to knock on 29 doors and then comes and begs at your feet, like groveling just for you to have sex with him, and then that's it. I don't want anything else. But like something's off.
Yeah.
Well, because he never has to work so hard. He's used to just having sex the first night with someone or right away and never thinking about them again. This is different for him. So he probably is like, that's his, mental illness probably manifesting in a different way. He doesn't know what it's like to have someone that he can't get out of his head, or that he can't, that's not just answering his whims as he wants them. So it's different, but it could be part of the same, issues that he has with control and not knowing the outcome. Maybe
that's true.
I was curious if he like intentionally avoided relationships because he knew he had this like streak in him, or like ability in him to behave that way.
Well, that's what I mean. I think probably yes, because that's why they had the scene with Alyssa saying and she said you have to tell her what happened.
Mm-hmm. So, but that was about the brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think Alyssa knew he physically abused his girlfriends, or just that he had like
I think she knew that he had anger issues because of that.
Yeah. It didn't sound like it surprised her. Like she wasn't like shocked to hear that had happened.
Yeah.
And then that also kind of, I'm like, they seem to be such a nice family. His parents are amazing. He has this amazing sister. That tragedy happened. And I just said that, I'm like, why isn't he in therapy every day? Like, why has this gone on for so long that he still gets angry like that? So it was like, it pissed me off, because I'm like, get help. And I have a daughter. I have her in therapy for anxiety, and it's been 2 years, and she's going to go every 2 weeks. She's going to keep going so that it helps her, because I don't want her to, have anxiety when she gets older, or learn how to manage it. So it's like, I was really pissed at his family. Like, why didn't you help him type thing? And that he's so successful and with patients and stuff. Again, if my son was going through that, I'd try to do everything I could to help him. But
like, I feel like maybe they didn't know the extent of it. I was really surprised that
I think he said he was in therapy since he was 6 years old or something. I think they did say that. I think
he said he was working through it all, and he was getting better, but there was still certain things still set him off.
Well, and if he's never dated, if he never has had a girlfriend before, then that's probably never happened before.
Yeah.
I think he avoided it. I think I'm not into relationships, and he didn't get emotionally attached. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that was his way. We don't know. Maybe it was his way of saying, you know what, that's how I'm gonna deal with this. I'm not going to get attached to anybody until he meets her, and then he doesn't know how to react. So he's dealing with all these emotions and all this stuff going on, and how he reacts to it. It might be even, and I again, not my favorite character, but you think about it, how complex he might have been. I mean, maybe that was his way. His shield was, that's it, one night stand, forget it, I don't do relationships or whatever. And I think everybody can attest to, I'm the one that's going to change that guy, the one that's going to say, yeah, okay, you say that, but you haven't met me yet, kind of thing. And I think maybe that was the thing. And I don't think he had ever met anybody. So I don't know. I just think you know, someone mentioned before, maybe that was his way of shielding it, and then he didn't know how to react to that part of his illness. You know, he lost control because he did try to control everything, you know, and the perfect life and the perfect parents and the perfect family life and the perfect career and the money and the charm. And then you know, there's a little break in the chain when he just reacts that way, and everything else starts to unravel because of that one thing. So maybe that was his like defense, and she was the weak link. You know, she was the one who came in and did that. So maybe he just didn't know how to react. I don't know, you know. And then she made excuses because maybe she didn't want to see, maybe she didn't realize, who knows. I mean, it's just they're human characters. They're very you know, they're really feeling things that people really, really feel all the time. And that's, I mean, that's at least to me, just a great sign of like an excellent writing, because you get emotionally vested in the book.
Yeah.
You know, which is good. You know, you get mad, you get angry, you get sad, you get disturbed. You know, it makes you cringe, it makes you laugh, it makes you whatever. And that's a good sign. She should have been here to hear that, but no.
I was surprised that Alyssa, when she told her about the abuse, sided with her and was like, you need to report it, you need to leave him. Like, as a sister, that's a hard thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I expected her to. Go ahead, Ali.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I loved Alyssa. I thought she was fun. She was a great friend, sister-in-law. She was like, she did all the right things. She was funny. She was like good comic relief throughout the book. I just loved her.
She was hilarious with her husband. Like, I want to be her friend.
Yeah.
It was really relatable too.
Mm-hmm. For being rich.
Yeah.
Jackie, what were you going to say about her?
No, that I agreed with you, because I thought in that she was like, well, as his sister, I have to tell you that he's great and you have to give him another chance or whatever. I was like, okay, obviously. And then she was like, but as your friend, if you ever go back to him, I'm never talking to you again. I was like, oh, okay.
That caught me so off guard.
She knows his flaws. And, you know, I would like to think that I don't have a brother, but if I did, I would like to think that I would do the same. You know, if I had a brother and my brother was this abusive person, that I would be like, listen, I love him, but you need to love you as well. So I was like, I was proud of her, because until that point, I really thought of her as more of a two-dimensional character, because she's just like this rich girl who's bored and has to go play in the flower shop type of thing. But that gave her this other piece, which I liked.
Everyone has answered all the questions I've had, like just in conversation, but one of them is, how do you think her past formed her relationship with Riley, or was she accepted or not? Like with her parents' abuse.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. My dog decided that.
It's okay. I said, how do you think that her past with her parents' physical abuse and like witnessing that shaped her relationships with Riley, or what she put up with or not?
Everything. I thought she was gonna leave him like that very first time, having gone through what she went through.
For sure, like that history is what shaped everything, because otherwise she may not have noticed those signs at all. And what, like we were saying, they didn't seem like that big a sign to us, the reader, I think, whereas to her, she was making.
Lost you.
Me?
Yeah, well, you're like, it went away. Like you were talking and the volume went away.
Sorry, probably. I was probably whispering to my son. Sorry.
I am surprised that it didn't make her more jaded. But I liked that she made the choices that she did at the end for her daughter, because she didn't want her daughter to relive the same thing that she did, because she despised her dad and didn't see anything positive in him, and she didn't want that for her daughter. So I thought that that was very selfless of her to to do that, because how hard must it be? Like, because she clearly felt all kinds of things for this man. So to have just been like, all right, well, but I like also that she put it on him. Like, so what happens if your daughter one day comes home and says this? And then what happens if she says this? And then she kept pushing it. Like, so he made the decision, which then kind of made it all come back full circle to that conversation she had with her mom, where her mom was like, any man who truly loves you, if they don't know how to love you, they'd leave. So I liked how she put that in there.
Yeah, that scene at the end was hard to read.
Yeah, it was intense, but it shows you that he really does love her. So his passion is there. He's just broken, and he's broken in a way that she shouldn't have to deal with. It's that simple.
Part of me was like, do you have to have this conversation right now? Like, can you do it tomorrow? Like right when he starts carrying the baby? I mean, I'm sure like as the writer, you just want to move it along. But I kept thinking like in real life, like if this were to play out, like, can you give the guy a little bit of time with the baby before you bring that conversation
But
on?
it did make make what she was saying, like that it made it that dramatic moment. It made him answer truthfully, because he was so, wowed by the baby, by his new daughter all of a sudden, that he was beyond honest. So
I feel like if she didn't do it then, she wasn't going to do it though.
Right.
That's true.
Well, maybe that was like her way of, even though it's, I don't know, of helping him, of sort of making him shocking him, into helping him, maybe, making him realize, okay, something's got to change. I have to do something. What I've done to this point hasn't worked. It's damaged this relationship. It's damaged everything. And maybe from this point, just to shock him into just changing him out of love, because she loves him, so maybe that was the intent, even if it hurts, but it's what he needed, I don't know.
It was such a mom moment. Like, I'm not a mom, but I could put myself in her shoes. Like, you're sacrificing your happiness, because she still loved him, for the happiness of her daughter, like their relationship's future.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to perpetuate the cycle. She lived as a kid watching it, and then she's living it, and she doesn't want that to continue, and then he needs to be shocked into, possibly helping himself somehow, which we'll never know, because she, that's where you're like, come on, write something else. That's what happened, to see that if he was able to change that or fix that, or I don't think it would be fixed.
I don't think he really tried. He would always apologize and say he would try to stop it, but then like when he saw the magnet and lost his mind, like there was no self-control there at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. He had no self-control.
The end, I kept wanting more, and especially when she threw the atlas, and I'm like, okay, now I start, as the book is ending, my mind is just spinning on everything that is gonna happen, and I'm like, as Rai, I would be like, you know what, I was right.
Yeah,
they had something together. Am I going crazy? And then now he's like all mental and mad. So it's like, how was that dynamic? She's formed such a beautiful thing with her sister-in-law and him, like such a like village, and then bring Atlas, which is just gonna like, I don't know.
I feel like her sister-in-law would still support her.
100%, I think so. But I got mad at Alice when they were reading the newspaper, and like everything he was saying was fine. And then it's like, does she know that it's named after her? And he's like, oh, like no comment. Next question. It's like, but she doesn't. Like, you're just saying stuff. And that's the only part I got annoyed at Alice. I'm like, that's not true. And this is causing this whole fight.
And like that he faked the girlfriend that he never had. Like that would have been the whole story.
But I could feel for him at that point because he was so hurt. And when he told the story, he was like, you know, I saw how happy you were and I didn't want to come in and ruin that because he loved her so much. Like, that's when you're like, wow, that's like really, you really truly love this person because their happiness matters more than your own. Like, that's, nobody has that unless they're like your child. Yeah. Every other.
And she had already said she had been, she's like, oh yeah, for a year, and like almost implying that they'd been dating for a year. And like, that's how he came across. And so he probably felt like, oh, I need to kind of make
something too, as if I'm
not sitting here
taking
waiting
the
for
time.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
felt
she
bad for
even
him.
said it. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
I don't know.
check.
I felt bad for Atlas.
I really liked
I don't
him.
know. I felt bad for him.
So
you know?
how do we think his relationship with her differed than Riley? And how did it help her grow as a person?
I don't know that it helped her grow. I don't think she saw anything. Like, I don't think we got enough of it to see her growth. But the difference was it was not selfish on his part. Everything he did was because he actually loved her. Whereas I think everything that Raul did was more like one, because he needs to be in control of everything and he's not in control of his own self. And I think that's probably why he has to be in control of everything else, because he, control the things you can. So he controls everything. I'm sure there's like a psychoanalytical book that she could write on that character. But I don't think that she necessarily saw that. I think she kept telling herself that it was like this young teenage love that wasn't really anything, but he was so much more mature than he really was. And like, there's so much depth to his character that I don't think we saw in this book.
Yeah, I agree.
He only got surface level.
But he was also like her safety net. But I agree, he has a lot more depth. Like when he showed up and put this is gonna lead me to my next question, put his phone number in her phone and just like hid it there. Why do you think she memorized the phone number and we never saw that as the reader until she needed it for the emergency?
For that exact reason, in case she needed it. And like, I think she, in the back of her head, she really knew she might need that again. And she that was my opinion, like not something deeper than that. Like she thought she might actually need to call him for that exact reason. But I think part of like the prior question, like I think everything he did for her, like he let her free saying like, don't wait for me. And so she kind of kept living her life and she kept moving forward. But everything he did seems like he was doing to get to the point that he could say to her, like, I'm a better person. Like, I'm ready for you. Like, come, are you ready now? Kind of thing. Because he kept like pushing towards that every time. And like, even with the girlfriend, like he always kept, I think, had her in mind with every decision and action. It seemed like.
I agree.
I don't think she necessarily thought she was going to have to call him specifically about like getting abused, but I think she felt from their like relationship growing up that she did know that if she needed anything, she could go to him. And clearly she didn't feel that way about her. What, did they get married? About Riley. So I think like she always knew like in her gut that Atlas was like going to support her and protect her and care for her. And I think she kind of was suspicious that like, I mean, from the minute they meet, Riley tells her like, my career is my focus. Like she knows she's not first there at least. So that's my.
And maybe she had unfinished business with him that she felt like, not that it needed to necessarily be romantic, but there was something that she wanted to be able to contact him to close that chapter. Because clearly, I mean, she kept the magnet. Not that that's an excuse for Ryle's reaction to it, but she did keep the magnet and didn't tell anybody where it came from or what her release, what that meant to her. But it clearly meant something to her that she brought it with her and put it out. She didn't put it in the box with the letters. She kept it out in her kitchen, So
I mean, she moved to Boston because of him.
Right. So he clearly had an effect on her in some way, even if it was, unintentional. Maybe with the move to Boston, she wanted to move away from her, family life and that, situation that she was in. She probably would have gone anywhere, but he planted that seed. So that was already kind of there. But I feel like she just knew eventually she was going to want talk to him again someday.
Mm-hmm. I think even the fact that she took the magnet to their place, it's one thing that when she had it in her apartment, but she put it on the fridge. And in fact, it took me a minute to process the meaning of the magnet. And I'm like, it's just a magnet. But then once they explained it, I was like, how could she do that? That was, I felt like that was, again, doesn't excuse his behavior, but that would cause a fight. I would be pissed. You bring in this magnet with that significant meaning. to our house, to this place that we bought together, not just because he bought it for her, but you know, that it's for them to build a life there. And she brought that in there. I mean, the letters, you know, it's part of your past. I still go through my attic to clean it from time to time, and then you clean out and you find more things, you know, and I'm like, okay, this time I can throw out my ex-boyfriend's cards, you know, the next time other things, and I still find pictures and I'm like, okay, now I can get rid of these pictures. But so there's certain things, yes, you can have hidden away, but to have just plain sight that you look at every day, I thought that was very shocking to me.
It was weird that she wasn't open about it. Like, just say it was your childhood friend who gave you a magnet. Like, she could have downplayed it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if subconsciously she was holding on to that. There's a lot more to it. Like, why would you? First of all, she was rereading her entries and feeling the thing. She wasn't just reading them and like having nostalgia. She was like longing for it almost. Mm-hmm. And then the magnet is out front and center. And then, like you said, she brings it to the apartment. And I want, you know, that because he just bought her an apartment, like, here you go, here's your house. And she kind of made a comment like, oh, I thought that was something that we would like do together, but okay, I like my house kind of thing. So I wonder if it was just like on purpose, you know, like to be like, there's something about me that you don't know, and I don't have to tell you about it, but also I have that. And she kept that number or memorized it for that same reason, like something that she can keep, but it's still a connection to him, but it's not just in an old diary entry from however many years ago. Like, it's still living.
Like a daily reminder.
One of the things that surprised me also was how young she was. Like, they didn't really go into detail, but like, she was 23 years old. She's, you know, she didn't have a lot of life experience necessarily to, you know, like, she didn't have any other, it seems like anyway, previous boyfriends or relationship experience. You know, she just jumped into this very intense relationship that got very, you know, serious very quickly. And, you know, and she's young and she has obviously family history with, you know, relationship issues. So she didn't have a lot to learn from.
Yeah.
But they didn't really go into detail about, like, they didn't use, and like, they didn't talk about her age at all, which I thought when they did say her age, I was like, she's only 23? What?
And it was written in 2016, not like it was written a long time ago where women were getting married younger. Like, it's pretty modern.
Yeah, but that did surprise me when I read that. I did not, because she wasn't necessarily written like she was a young,
no, she wasn't
20-something-year-old. So I was very surprised when I did see that she was 23 years old.
Like, she wasn't partying or clubbing or had a whole bunch of girlfriends. Right. She was very responsible.
Right. And very focused, which is like Ryle or Riley, whatever. It's that focus, that entrepreneur like intensity. Like, she was really focused on doing something meaningful, successful business-wise. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she's different, I feel like, than most 23-year-old, right?
Oh my God, Jen, are you driving? Please drive carefully. You guys kind of mentioned the journals. That was one of my first questions, and I skipped it because we got so into the Riley character. But what did you think of the journals to Ellen?
Mm-hmm. It was cute. It was creative. I liked it. I thought it was I don't know. It was different. Rather than just reading a story, right? It made it more entertaining, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You liked it? I didn't like them.
No.
It's just
different.
It's not liking it or
as opposed to being like Dear Diary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just made it more, it just made it different. It was unique.
Personally, I thought the first part of the book was a little bit slow. I love the second part. The first part wasn't slow where I didn't want to read it, but the journal entries and like the Ellen part, I was like, oh my God, another journal entry. Just tell me what happens already. But I get that there was like not many ways unless they're doing flashbacks to tell you the history of her character and her relationship with Atlas.
Mm-hmm. That's random, but I go ahead.
Oh no, that's why I liked it. It was not a flashback. It wasn't your typical, let me tell you what happened back then. Like, so she was reliving her past by reading what she wrote. But even then, I thought was written not the way a teenager would write in a diary. So
no. She's different though. I feel like they allude to that a lot. She's different. Like grew up different and different experiences. They show that she doesn't really have a lot of friends or anything. So it kind of made sense that it would be quirky, that it would be weird, like not the norm.
Did you guys like how it ended, and what would you have wanted to happen differently?
I like the title. I kept thinking like ends with who, ends with who, ends with who. I'm like, what? Just give it to me already. So I was happy when they brought that. And I don't know why, maybe I'm like spacey, but I didn't get that until that moment when she said
I didn't think of that at all either. When I read that, I go, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I didn't think of it until she said it at the end either.
Yeah, it was good. I like that.
I was disappointed because when the mom told her, you know, if he loves you enough, he would leave on his own. So I was kind of disappointed when she said, I want a divorce, and he started arguing with her. I wish he would have, like, I kind of was like, if he was such a good guy, like he would have already understood, especially holding his daughter. But then I also liked, you know, how powerful it was when she started questioning him and asking him, like, if your daughter came to you and said that this happened and this happened. So I get that, you know, if he had just said, okay, yes, you're right, a divorce is what I'll give you, that it wouldn't have gotten to that point. But I liked that. I think even for me, like, it wasn't until that moment that I was like, yeah, no, you can't excuse the first time or the second, you know, it was finally at that moment that I was like, no, you can't, you can never excuse it. Like it should have been the first time, and that's it. It should have, that's it. It should have ended that first
I really
time.
agree with that. Like, I thought the way she framed that was incredible. Like, putting it in the perspective of now you have a daughter, you're holding her in your arms, and like, what would you do if she came to you with the exact thing that happened to me?
Mhm.
You know, even if it was someone you loved. And it was the best way to frame it for him at that moment.
Yeah.
I wish they had said more, like, I know they had, you know, mentioned briefly, and we talked about it, about like him going to therapy, but I wish, like, and maybe just because I liked him and I wanted him to be better for her, that I wish they said, like, I'm going to therapy so I can get, you know, to the trace of why I am this way, what gets me this way, what, you know, so I can heal. I wish that they, you know, explore that a little bit more. And maybe that's just because I liked Ryle and I wanted him to be better for her. And, you know, it couldn't have worked for them because he needed to help himself, but I wanted him to help himself more. So I wish they had said that.
Would you have liked it if they stayed together?
No, because I don't think after that third time, it's unforgivable what he did. It's just, you can't be with someone that acts that way. But I wanted him to help himself, because he did seem like he wanted to help himself, but I wish it was more clear that he was doing something about it, because he knew that he needed help. So
I liked the passion from him better, but again, we had talked about it before. To me, it was like a little bit too good to be true. So that's his flaw, right? But they made him so, you know, he's handsome and neurosurgeon and like so passionate and so in love with her. You know, it was
giving up his dream at the Mayo Clinic to stay with her. Like, all the other things are there.
Perfect. Yeah. But honestly, I didn't care for, I don't know why, but maybe I'm bad, but I didn't like the Atlas guy so much. I don't know why. I just felt like, and I know we're saying like, oh, he really loved her and everything, but I feel like, I mean, obviously he loved her. She was making him live. She was keeping him afloat. She was the only person that paid attention to him, gave him water, gave him food, gave him a shower. I mean, come on, of course you're going to love that person. So I didn't find it as like a passionate thing. I just found it as a love of a sister, or I don't know. That's almost like what I was thinking, but
like a savior.
Yeah. So whatever.
What did you guys think towards the end when she invited Riley back to the apartment to like see the mural? Like she allowed him to participate in some of like the baby prepping part. I thought that was leading them to be together, and I couldn't fathom how she felt safe. Or I mean, I know she was a little bit wary when he was there, but enough to let him in the house. after he beat her up. Like, I didn't like that part at all. Like, why are you giving him this piece of letting him be involved with the babies coming and prepping for him when he just put you through all that?
Or even trusting
I
him.
saw more like, go ahead.
No, that was it.
What did you say? Trusting him?
With the baby.
Yeah, yes.
Like, sorry, if you beat me up when I can defend myself, I'm not giving you my child. Sorry, figure it
I
out.
thought about that too. Okay, Jenna, go.
So two things. I thought like the letting him in was her way of like showing an olive branch, only to say, like, at the end of the day, you're still this baby's father and we're going to co-parent this baby together, and like showing him that like it's going to start now and I want you to be part of that process. And I think knowing that her father, no matter what he did to the mom, like didn't do that to her, I think gave her hope that with the child, he'd be okay. And I think once she saw him, like the new baby in his arms, like confirm that for her to know that like he would never lay a hand on her. I don't know how you know that for sure, since someone snaps and he didn't, you love someone, he loved her and he didn't intend to hurt her either. I don't know how you make that differentiation like between a wife and a child, but something about like the way she felt when he was holding her, like kind of confirmed that she would be protected and he wouldn't do that to her. And like, I think the letting her in the house was just like, I took that as, okay, we're going to co-parent this baby together, whether or not I take you back or not. And like showing that you're still the baby's father. That's how I like saw it.
Again, for me, it goes back to her description of the reality of the author's situation and what happened to her and what she saw with her parents, that she was allowed to have a relationship with her father because they got divorced. So she was just showing her own experience, which is interesting that it truly happened like that for her.
Like, wouldn't you be scared to leave your baby with him? I would be terrified. I'd be like,
Absolutely.
You get supervised visitations until I can trust you again.
But she also is best friends with the sister. So for all we know, they don't get into it. For all we know, that is a requirement, right?
She has to be there. Like, that would be my requirement.
Right. She didn't really go into
that he's the baby's father, so he wasn't going to hurt the baby.
Like, that's not guaranteed.
Maybe she had a realization that, it was just like her relationship, it was mirroring her parents. So she's like, yeah, my mom was hurt, but I was physically, but I wasn't. So I think the way she trusted him in some twisted way, she trusted him enough, but I get it. I mean, you would say, oh, forget it. You're never coming near this kid. But I think that maybe that's showing you that, his problem was in the relationships, like the girlfriend, wife kind of relationship dynamic, not the parent dynamic. And also maybe showing him that you're better than this, because I know you're never going to harm this baby. So there is, that she's trusting him. She's putting some trust in, which I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know.
I think I would make him have supervised visitation.
I wouldn't.
He wants him to be fixed. You know what I mean? Would I? No. I'd be like, no. I don't exist anymore. We don't exist. Goodbye. But maybe she loves him, so maybe that's her way of trusting him. I agree with you, Michelle. That was like, no, why are you going to be part of this?
Like, I understand letting him have a relationship with the baby, not while he was pregnant though, like on your own after the baby is born, but supervised. That whole being part of the nursery thing, I was like, why are you letting him in? Like, he bit you where you needed stitches. Like, he tried to rape her at one point. Like, no.
Yeah, maybe she's, I don't know, too good, too trusting, too caring.
Blinded by love.
Not even, God, no. I mean.
And that's why I almost thought she was gonna, it actually shocked me when she said, I want a divorce, when she said that at that moment, because it seemed like everything was leading up to that it was going to get fixed, that it was going to be, that was going to be the happy ending, that something was going to happen and he was going to say, I'm going to get help. And then she was just going to, so all of that leading and almost leading him on too, because she started to include him. So I agree. I don't think I would have included him. I think everything would have been with super, even myself, the brother-in-law would have been there, my sister-in-law, the whole time, for everything. Maybe yes, include him to see the nursery, but again, not by myself.
No.
My question is like, even if he said he was getting help, like, how do you, like, at what point do you decide, okay, he's like over the hump and
Right.
like he's like, I don't think you do after.
Fixed or healed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen just, automatically. in a
I
few
would need
months.
a third person there. Like that would terrify me. Like, how about if the kid has a tantrum? Are you gonna snap at them? Like,
right, because
baby's crying. Are you gonna shake her? Like,
yeah, he's gonna lose it. Like
I felt like it was going towards like you said, Lourdes, that she was going to forgive him until she saw the baby, and like then she changed her mind.
Yeah, I don't know. That was messed up a little bit.
But I really do think that she was. I think that up until that point, she was going to take him back. Because I think it was just like seeing all the different things and she felt all those moments. And then when she held the baby and she gave him the baby, she was like that, like, and she even says it something like, and that's exactly when I knew when I made my decision or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, my last question, but if anybody has anything else to share, feel free to. What message did you take away from this book?
A new perspective, to be honest, because like we were all saying at the beginning that like everybody, you always think of an abuser as this horribly awful person that has nothing redeeming. And she didn't paint him that way.
Anybody else?
It also makes you think, like, because she said it, like, as an outsider, she always thought, like, why doesn't my mom leave? And then there's so much more to it. So it kind of makes you feel like, so there's a lot more than what we see when you're not in it. But it's the same with any relationship of any kind. Like anybody from the outside can be like, oh, but you need to do blah, blah, blah. And then you're not in it, you don't know. So
that was one of my favorite things, how she would tell us, what she felt when she was little. And then we see the scene and then it's her reflection and putting herself at that moment in her mother's shoes, but with how she's feeling towards Ryan. So, and that was one of my favorite things that she kept doing.
I also really liked the relationship with her mom, how that came and she finally respected her mother.
Yeah.
Like in that one moment.
Because she was very weak throughout the whole book.
Yeah, I think with her mom, she like, while the father was alive, she was still like stuck in this. And you kind of see the mom healing as she gets away from it when she like finally like admits to her and she says like, we need to go. Like that. And like when she says like, I know what you were doing at the funeral and like, I appreciate it. Like she's finally like accepting what was happening. Like while she was in it, she just couldn't, like that was her survival tactic, was just to like kind of separate it. So I like that too, that we see like the other side of it for the mom too.
Yeah, it was a good scene. I kind of feel like it made me, like if we ever had a friend that would come to us in a similar situation, I think reading this book, you would probably not react so quickly. Like obviously we would still probably tell them to get out, but not be so judgmental, because there could be good to it too. And red flags for all of us dating. Like be super vigilant.
Well, I just think you never know, what a relationship is like unless you're the person in the relationship, and like Jackie said, yeah, people give you advice all the time and tell you should do this and you should do that and you should get out or you should stay or you should this, but it's so much more complex and there's so many more levels of it. And I think she came full circle and understood her mom and what her mom had gone through, because it's very easy step back and say, how could you stay, or how could you take this abuse, or I would have left after this happened. But then you find yourself in it and you do stay and you do think, no, this is just a one-time thing. Oh, this wasn't a big deal. It was nothing. And you make excuses and you don't even realize you're making those excuses. So I think it gave me a perspective that relationships are very complex no matter what. And that as an outsider, you can't really just jump in and make judgment about that. The person themselves have to realize what's going on. They realized that if she continued and she was going to perpetuate that toxic, you know, it was just going to happen to her daughter. And I think it was interesting how they made the baby a girl, you know, because that just showed you that, you know, okay, the buck stops here. I have to stop it now, because if not, this is going to continue. Because I don't think in her life, you know, she tried to get away from that and make everything and be successful and have drive and have ambition and take care of herself. And then she met this guy and it was just like, oh my God, you know, and he was the same way. So I don't know. I just think that it was just her realizing and her sacrificing for her daughter, but also at the same time doing better for her daughter than maybe was done for her. She, you know, and that we cannot jump into what it is not always what it seems, you know, which is a very hard lesson, but it's a lesson that we all, you know, need to like really focus on, because that's like life now in general. You know, what you see isn't really what it is.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect example of that, you know. And you think when you think abuser and you think some drunk loser guy, you know, living in a trailer, living in a whatever on the street in his truck, whatever. You don't think neurosurgeon, rich, good looking.
Well, but also like we need to acknowledge the situation that she was in her life allowed her to be able to stand on her feet and leave. Like she had Alice to reach out to. She had she had the support of the sister-in-law. She technically has the support of her mom. She has her own business. Like she has the ability to take this baby and leave, and not, I would say most women that are in these, I mean, we don't know, but a lot of women that are in that position
can't just leave.
Yeah.
I may not have known, like she may not have recognized the, you know, what he was doing, and that she needed to leave as quickly as she did. She probably would have made excuse after excuse after excuse had she not witnessed what her mom went through. And she probably would have stayed in longer.
I wrote an article like 10 years ago about women in abusive relationships, not physically abusive relationships, emotionally abusive relationships. And I was so surprised. I put like a call out like on social media if anybody would share their story. Some of the girls that responded that they would share their story were people I went to school with, that I was friends with, that I would have had no idea would have ever been in these situations. And some of them, like going into the story, I was like, oh, it's going to be somebody without a job, somebody who's dependent on this man for something, or somebody who doesn't have self-confidence. And some of them were, all of them were very well-educated women. Some were going to medical school or doctors already, or own their own businesses. And when they would tell me the things that they put up with from the guys, again, it was all emotional, not physical, like belittling things. You would think like, these women are strong enough to walk out and like leave. Like, why would you stay? It like changed my perspective in the way you view the women in these relationships.
Yeah, because unless you're in it, because you know that relationship could be the weak point for the person that's that strong. You know, it's very complicated. I think.
Do you know what I find interesting about like the emotional abuse? Like, I don't know if anyone's I read an article about like Shia LaBeouf and his last girlfriend, and it was like very detailed, and it's all the same patterns, and it's generally men to women. Like I don't really hear about emotionally abusive women towards men, and it's astounding to me that like they don't go to school and learn this. Like they don't take a class on how to be emotionally abusive to your girlfriend or significant other, but it's all the same patterns.
Yeah.
Like the love bombing and the gaslighting and the belittling and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely happens to people we know. And you think it doesn't, like just exists in the background.
I think we've all dated guys that are probably not the best that we accept things from. Like I had an ex who I wouldn't say was emotionally abusive, but did the gaslighting, did the belittling, did things like that in my mind was like, oh, he's upset, or oh, that was just a reaction to a fight. It was never like this is emotional abuse till years later thinking about it or like reading stuff. You're like, oh, some of these things were signs that you just would let go because everything else was okay.
I also I had a yoga teacher post like a meme or something, but it like hit home where it was like, just because you understand why someone is the way they are doesn't mean like you need to accept their behavior. Like just because we understand why Ryle, like because he went through this traumatic experience in his childhood, like that's why he has this like rage and aggression in him, but that doesn't mean that she has to put up with it, you know. And like
doesn't excuse it.
Right.
I
don't know.
Yeah,
if
that was
on
somebody's
Netflix,
going through something.
the show Made. Have you seen it? If any of you have seen
Yeah.
that's
was
all about
that was-
emotional abuse. And it's like this poor girl's put in a position that you're just like, oh my God, you know? And
Right. Like
it's desperation. And
as women, you want to be
you know,
Yeah.
and she wants to do better and she knows that this is wrong, and it's just, it's frustrating and it's real and it's, you know, it exists and nobody has to take it, you know. And I think even though we were left wanting more in the book, I think, you know, it was generally a good ending because, you know, yeah, she didn't take it. You know, if she would have stayed, then we would have been like, oh my God, how stupid. Why did she stay?
What if she was weak?
Why did she stay with him? She's so stupid. I would have like hightailed it out of there in 2 seconds after the roast, after the burn. That would have been, you know, but that isn't true. The reality is probably not, you know, so. But if those of you that haven't seen that Made show, watch it because I think it's worth watching because it's just like, it opens your eyes to like, oh my God, especially the gaslighting. What is that? That's like the number one thing. I didn't say that. What, are you crazy? That's like, yeah, no, I'm not.
I feel like women put up with that, not just in like romantic relationships, like even work relationships a lot of the time.
Well, nobody should. Nobody should. In any case, every time anybody does that to me, I get, oh my gosh. I'm like, no, no, I'm not insane.
Like I said that.
When I'm 90 years old and I've lost my mind, but not right now, you know.
Sorry. Any other comments? I don't want to keep you guys for too long. We've been a little bit like an hour.
Yeah, I have to go.
Huh?
I have to go.
Okay.
I have the little ones like.
Let's take our picture.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where my book is on my Kindle somewhere. So
it's okay. You can just smile.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay. You guys ready?
Yes.
Twice. 1, 2, 3. Hold on, let me do it again. One, two, three. Okay, the next book, if you haven't seen the email, is Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. I can never say her last name. Comes out on November 30th. If you order through Books and Books, we have 20% off with the code Bella. I get nothing off of this code. It's just a discount. I don't get like a kickback or anything like that. They've pre-ordered the book for us too. Just wanted to support a local bookstore, which is why I reached out to them. And I also reached out to her for joining us for a conversation. She declined because she's touring when the book comes out. She did say for us to attend. She's having a virtual like meeting through Books and Books. Actually, coincidentally, I did not know this. On November 29th, the night before the book comes out. I'm sure there's not going to be spoilers, but she'll probably talk about her process. I'll send another email and I'll add that link if anybody wants to join. If you haven't bought the book and you RSVP to that November 29th thing, the ticket includes a book. I emailed the bookstore to see if we already ordered the book, like how does that work? If you pre-order the book, the author has on her website like a form you fill out that gives you like pictures of her trip to the Galapagos and bookmarkers and silly things like that. But you get a prequel, it's 15 pages and it just talks about the main character's life as a child. It was interesting. And the book is about COVID times, like a pandemic. So it's a, I don't know if you guys looked into it yet. Yes, no? The couple is planning a trip. She has like her whole life planned out. He's about to propose and the pandemic hits. So he stays behind to work at the hospital and she goes on the trip and she gets stuck in the Galapagos. I don't know how long it's for, but she befriends a family and apparently being there makes her question like the goals that she had in life. So it's kind of timely. I'm thinking we could meet at the end of January, maybe early February, depending how everybody's reading goes throughout the holidays. So that's the next book.
Are we doing book exchange again this year?
Oh yes, I put a thing on Instagram to see if people wanted to, and only one person that replied said no. And I don't think they participated last year anyways. So we did, if those of you who are new, we did a book exchange last year. I did it through Elfster, so it matches you automatically by itself. We sent a book to somebody else in the club. There's more than 9 people signed up for our emails. Some people join that don't even come to book club, but still get the emails. And you send them a book, whatever book you want. Some people request a book. Like some people last time requested the book we were currently reading. I have a few questions on Elfster for you to fill out, like your type of books that you like, whether it's romance or history or whatever, so that you get something geared to your likes. And that way it lets you meet somebody else that's in the club, in the book club. You can send them a little note and people tagged each other on Instagram and stuff. It was really fun. So we'll be doing that. I'll set it up probably by next week. Yeah, I'm a little behind because I was out of commission for like 3 weeks. But yes, we'll be doing it. So if anybody wants to join, if you have friends that are not in the book club and they want to join in the book exchange, it's really fun. Yes. Any questions? No? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the convo.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Lourdes.